ladies and gentlemen, a couple of dear friends, not only to 9 to noon, but FM 100.3, KFAN. They both work for the Star Tribune, and you can follow their work at startribune.com. One covers the Minnesota Vikings as a beat writer. The other writes about myriad things as a columnist. Can we get a witness and a raucous round of applause, please, for Ben Goessling and Velle E. Neal the third at Shields and Toys for Tots. What's going on, Star Tribune Covenant?
Nothing much. Good morning, everyone. Good to see you here. Great cause here.
Ben, good seeing you.
Good to see you guys, too. Thanks, everybody, for being here.
And Ben's appearance is courtesy of Standard Heating and Air, Standard Heating and Air, standardheating.com.
Lavelle's appearance is sponsored by...
What's that mean?
Hello?
Shields, Amy with Shields.
Come find him.
I need that cricket sounder.
He needs a new bike like you gave those children 2 years ago. All right, 3-2.
There, yeah. Thank you, Devin.
Ben, let's begin with you. And then Lavelle, you after him. What is for those who don't know, what is the difference between a beat writer and a columnist?
Yeah, this is actually an important question, I think, because a lot of times people don't understand the difference. A lot of it is, so my job on a daily basis is to cover the news of what happens with the team. My job is to tell you why things happened, how they happened, and what it all means. The difference between a beat writer and a columnist is free to express their opinions in what they write. They're telling you what they think should happen rather than what will or what did or why. So my job is to give you the news and tell you what it means, and a columnist's job is to weigh in with their opinions more so than a beat writer would be able to do. So there is a pretty distinct difference there, and it's important to have that because you don't want to have news mixed with opinion all the time. We want to make it clear that one is news and one is opinion, so you can trust what you're getting and where it's coming from.
Right. As someone who's done both, the transition is a little tougher than you would think. I think it took me a year to get that beat writer mode out of me when I was writing comms. So that was when Chris Carr was a sports editor. We'd have those conversations frequently. So I had to get out of that. So it doesn't mean you just have a license to take shots at people, but you do have greater license to share your perspective and come up with stories and analogies and things like that. So
I like that.
It's funny because when I was a beat writer, I would still get emails the next day going, I read your column today.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I get those all the time.
Yeah. So that hasn't changed. So, yeah, there is definitely a distinct difference. You brought up Mark Craig. I would say Mark Craig's kind of like a football columnist a little bit.
So here's the deal. Ben's a beat writer covering the Vikings. Lavelle is a columnist for the Star Tribune, like Jim Souhan, Chip Scoggins, and so on. And I asked them off the radio, all right, well, define Mark Craig's role. How would you define that?
Well, his official role is our national NFL reporter. So his range of coverage, if there's national league issues, this is something he's been doing for a long time. It's more league wide than just Viking stuff. But yeah, he'll weigh in with probably a little more column type stuff than the typical beat writers.
And he has a Hall of Fame vote.
He does.
Right.
Oh, sweet.
So I love how Mark has injected his personality into what he writes. The bit the other day about, come on, people, he's started just only 6 games. And J.J. McCarthy went, he's only started 6 games, folks. Let's not jump off the deep end. You know, I love that one. That was just quality entertainment.
Let me ask you guys this. So there is a distinction between a reporter, a beat writer, and a columnist. But what's interesting is with social media, and we've all gone down this road over the last 15 years or so, is I think those lines from a consumption standpoint have been blurred, if not completely eliminated, where, and maybe this is part of the industry at large, but I think about, like, okay, just the facts, ma'am, has evolved into, I need a social media following. So just the facts maybe aren't necessarily all you're going to get. So in some ways, like if I'm just a fan, which I am, I'm a 41-year-old fan, maybe I want a little bit of both. Yeah. And I feel like those lines, at least again, from my end as a user standpoint, how do you maintain that line in the building? Because I think it's completely lost on X and other social media platforms.
No doubt. It is a lot blurrier than it used to be because people get a lot thrown at them from beat writers, columnists at the same time. On social media, there's not necessarily the distinction that's very obvious to people there. So I think for me, it's trying to stay on the side of analysis and not opinion. I'm typically trying to tell you, here's what the team is thinking as best as I can discern it. So I'm well aware that I probably stay on that side of the line. I probably take that line pretty seriously of saying I'm on this side of it. I'm not on the columnist side of it. And I'm aware that's not always a great content strategy. I could probably be a lot more interesting and entertaining on social media than I am.
Well, that's why you got Tuesday at 10 o'clock.
Well, that's it. Yeah, exactly. It allows me to let my hair down a little bit. But yeah, there is, I think, a line that's important there, and it probably makes me a little more boring than I could be, but I still think it's important to have the line. So it's trying to figure out how to provide something lively, some context, without kind of stepping over and saying, this is what I think there should be doing. And it doesn't matter that I'm not a columnist. I have a social media account, so who cares? I don't really think about it that way.
But then when we have opportunities to do radio and television, they don't want the nuts and bolts. They want a little bit more than that. And that's where it gets a little dicey there. You know, I've sat in the studio with PA. Come on, Velle. Mark Perez sucks. When this guy comes off the DL, he's got to be Jennison, right? You know, and you have to deal with those type of questions all the time. So, and then
you say something, and somebody aggregates it, and it becomes a big thing, and you go from there.
Yeah, and because I've had institutional knowledge about the Twins for so many years, I come on and start explaining their thinking, and that's how the Polet Pocket Protector got born.
Right. That's right. Like 15, 20 years ago, right?
Yep, exactly.
Velle Neal III, columnist, Star Tribune, at Velle Neal via X. Ben Goessling, beat writer for the Star Tribune, who covers the Minnesota Vikings. At Ben Goessling via X if you'd like to follow him. And it's great having both of them here at Shields. It's Toys for Tots, how you can help. We will share again momentarily. And Ben's appearance is courtesy of Standard Heating and Air. All right, so this is a difficult question, and I don't think I've ever asked either one of you, but just want to hear what you have to say. Will there come a day there won't be an actual newspaper and everything will be online?
It's going to happen sooner than later.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it's coming.
How do you feel about that?
Our projections show that our circulation is going to be down about 20,000 to 20,000 a day within the next 5 years.
The print circulation, well, the online circulation is certainly growing. But it's shifting, no doubt.
For those of you who follow Star Tribune, if you're online, you see the content we have online is much more vast and voluminous than it is in the newspaper now. We're basically curating stuff during the week to put out a paper every day. And starting in late December, going into January, we sold our printing press. And our paper, I wish it wasn't across the state line, but we're printing a paper in Iowa now. And, starting in December. And like any sporting event that begins like after 5 p.m. will not be in the paper the next day. Everything will be online.
You mean in Minnesota?
Yeah, Minnesota. Yeah.
Well, crazy.
And I mean, it's happening in some other papers. I think the Atlanta Journal-Constitution is ending. It's print edition. Other papers are doing it as well.
May God rest the soul of Furman Bisher.
So, maybe to entice people to get an online subscription, we give them a free iPad so they can read the paper that way, So that's where we're headed with the industry. We've had to adapt to the market forces, and this is what's driving everything.
But here's the other thing I'd say on this, because there is this sort of narrative, the newspaper is dying. The newspaper is morphing. The company is shifting. We are heading towards an online, being an online company, and the print method of delivery is certainly dying. But the company by no means is dying, and the Star Tribune still has more beat writers, more columnists, more expansive coverage of what happens in Minnesota, especially Minnesota sports, than anybody else. So sometimes I see this thing about the dying old newspaper. It's like, that's not the case. It's just changing form into something new.
But when you say morphine, we got the two kids there in the back row. Leaning over to mom or dad going,
what's the newspaper?
What's the news? What's an album?
It's the same thing.
That's the reality of 2025.
Correct.
And morphine was the perfect way to describe
how we get our music changes, how we get our news changes. It's just the medium. It's not the message that changes.
Yeah. Well, and if you wanted a good example of beat writer versus columnist, you just heard the columnist breaking it down, and then the beat writer has to roll in. No, the newspaper is not dying.
Yeah.
You just heard the difference.
The beat writer gets a little annoyed by that narrative sometimes when it's not true.
Well, there's still
the beat writer is one of 4 beat writers who covers the Vikings, and there is no other outlet in the country that covers one team as much as the Star Tribune does the Vikings. So the beat writer gets a little annoyed.
And our high school coverage is basically second to none now. Our high school staff is every high school in this state has its own website available on Strip Varsity. That's what we're headed to with this. So,
well, I think there's some positive. I mean, change can be awful, right? Because lives are changing as part of this, and circumstances and things. You mentioned moving operations to Iowa. All that's different and changing habits, etc. But in the end, in the grand scheme of things, the evolution, this also provides you guys maybe some flexibility in the type of content that you offer as well in the long term. We've seen it in other digital services and such where, maybe they're not limited by the space in a physical paper the same way that you guys would be. And therefore, whether it's editing, a lot of things, change can be good, I guess is what I'm going with in this case.
My Vikings game stories are longer than they ever have been.
Yeah,
I'm sure you of that.
I agree. My
about to write some novellas here.
Yep. My comms are too. I'm regularly going over the prescribed limits for how many words I'm supposed to write.
Editors have realized they can't fight City Hall on that one anymore.
They could put it online. If I write twice as long, they could put it all online and then cut it to half for what's left of the newspaper.
Let us land the plane with this because it's the Vikings.
It's moderate chop.
Vikings are 4-8, and the Vikings have had really good records, and they currently have a bad record. And there are some things, as we shared earlier, that I'll get more into detail with tomorrow that are en route to becoming historically bad. And Ben covers the team, and he covers it objectively. And Velle covering the Minnesota Twins for 2+ decades. Some of it was good, some of it was bad. So, Ben, you first. What becomes difficult for your job covering a team when it's losing game after game after game? Same question for you, Velle, when he's done.
Yeah, I can appreciate the baseball side of this because my first job as a beat writer was covering 2 Washington Nationals teams that lost 102 and 103. Wow. And as Velle knows, there's nothing worse than covering a baseball team in August that is out of it. There's just, what the heck am I going to write about today? I don't find that to be the same problem in the NFL because there are fewer games and more people. There are more storylines to write about. But the difficult thing is, the people you're talking to every day get tired of seeing you because they get tired of talking about the fact that things aren't going well. And it becomes a challenge of saying, okay, I'm in this room every day, good, bad, and different, and I'm going to cover you objectively no matter what happens. I'm not going to start railing on you, even if sometimes fans want that. I'm not going to do it the same way as you might see online. So you can trust that I'm not doing this with a stake in the emotional roller coaster. I'm going to cover you fairly either way. So you lean on those relationships and the trust you've built with players over the years. And I think that's where you have to approach it when you're covering a season like this.
An aside or a verbal sidebar, as they would go in the newspaper business, to what you said. Okay, so you have the nuts and bolts of which is very important to you from a journalistic integrity standpoint. You write the story, it's online or it's in the newspaper. Well, there's also social media.
Yep.
And beat writers on social media all over the place will pontificate would be the wrong word, but they will take what is happening, inject their opinion, but maybe not realize or not care that those that they're covering, well, they see that too.
Yes, they do.
And that impacts the other part of the job that you just described, right?
No doubt. When I was younger, when I was covering beats, when I was 25, 26 years old, I was probably a lot more unaware of that. I think I would say things, I'd be a lot more sarcastic on my social media accounts, and I realized, like, this is not really my job here, and people do see it. And so I've kind of gone pretty far away from that. And yes, it is because players see it, coaches see it. The people that, in a lot of cases with football, you don't have all of the information you need to say definitively this person should have done X and they did Y. So I think I've learned over the years, there's a lot I don't know, and that's always going to be the case. So the way I go about it always has to reflect that.
Yeah, I tend to engage in banter with people on social media a little bit more than Ben does, which leads me down some rabbit holes. I get irked when people say stupid stuff on my X feed, and I feel I need to straighten them out, either block them or just come back at them.
I saw you locking comments for a while there, Velle. You had it.
Well, I've got
done with it.
My thing set up is that if you follow me, you can respond to me. I think that's what ended up a lot of people.
I'm the same.
But funny about the players reading these things too. There was a game in which Sergio Romo nearly started a brawl with the Kansas City Royals at Target. It was during COVID. So since there's no one in the stands, you can hear everything that goes on the field. Romo's like fired up after striking somebody out, and it pissed off Salvador Perez. The next thing you know, those words going back and forth.
Wow.
And so I tweeted something about Romo's at it again. Blah 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 blah. At 2 a.m. in the morning, he jumps into my DMs, goes off of me, then blocks me, so I couldn't respond to him.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm always mindful of stuff like that when
that's beautiful.
I post.
Were you able to reconcile potentially later?
Yeah,
seeing him at the
I told Justin, if he wants to have a conversation, let's have a conversation. But it never happened, and then the Twins got rid of him. So
that's Velle Neal III, columnist for the Star Tribune. Ben Goessling, beat writer, covers the team for the Star Tribune. Round of applause for them for coming to Shields. And we are here for Toys for Tots. If you would like to help, here's the route. Nordo?
Yes, please just show up, hang out, say hi, buy an unwrapped toy or bring an unwrapped toy and drop it off right here near where we're broadcasting. And you'll see the Marines there. You'll see Vikings cheerleaders in the mix throughout the day. And you'll see our pretty faces up here on stage as well. But as part of this, of course, the first 50 donations during each show today, whether it's 9 to noon, into Common at noon, and Bumper to Bumper at 3, first 50 are going to get a KFAN/Unreal beanie as part of it. But again, Toys for Tots. That's the goal today. We do this once a year. Shields, tremendous hosts, and the Vikings and Unreal's significant sponsors as part of this. So come, bring some unwrapped toys, please.
You're listening to 9 to noon at FM 100.3 KFAN. Welcome back to Shields for Toys for Tots. Paul Allen, producer Nordo, Ben Goessling from the Star Tribune, and Velle Neal III, also from the Star Tribune. We talked a lot about the roots of the beat writer, the scribe, and or the columnist executing their toil. And StarTribune.com is a great place to follow exactly everything they were talking about. It's the newspaper world. But there are podcasts, there are videos and stuff like that on YouTube from stadiums. So StarTribune.com, love those guys. Both of them do really, really good work. To the Vikings first, and Ben, how do they pull out of this? How do they pull out of it?
Well, I think a lot of it, I mean, it's repetitive, but it's got to start at the quarterback position. You have to get better quarterback play than they've had. And the question is, are you going to get that from the young quarterbacks at this point? I think this has to be about, and Kevin O'Connell talked about it yesterday, figuring out how you can work this offense with these guys where they're at. And it'll be J.J. McCarthy on Sunday, but you have to get to the point where you can sustain drives and at least get some momentum that way. I think it has to start there, and protecting him better is going to be part of it too, especially if they get healthier on the offensive line. But you just have to get the quarterback playing at a representative level in the NFL. There's no way to win in this league if you don't have that. So I think it's got to start there.
Velle Neal III is from the south side of Chicago, and his favorite football team is the Chicago Bears. They currently not only are in first place in the NFC North, they're number one in the NFC. Same record as the Rams, but they have a better conference record. So the question for you. Your Bears being
yes, my friend.
Your Bears being numero uno in the NFC.
This is like a Bears fan to pull out a cigar in December, not February.
Did you? Yeah, it's
heard that '85 team was good though.
All of a sudden, is it Mike Royko? All of a sudden, Mike Royko radio has rolled in.
No,
here.
I've been sending them videos after the last 2 weeks of me smoking a victory cigar, and it's been driving them up at the wall.
No, I think I've been handling them okay.
You told me to do something with that cigar Sunday night,
and then I invited you on the radio show. So, I mean, yeah, you're right. It's the topsy-turvy nature of your announcer. Did you see this coming? With 9-3? 9-3, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Did you in any way see this coming?
No, because I thought it was almost back to square one with this team with a brand new coach and a brand new system. Offensive-minded coach is a drastic change from Matt Eberflus to Ben Johnson. So I thought that Caleb Williams was going to have to be rewired as a quarterback. And there was a lot of growing pains during training camp. I mean, they're having trouble getting lined up during walkthroughs.
Yeah, the reports coming out of there in training camp were kind of wild.
Yeah, like Ben Johnson screaming at Cole Kmet because he lined up 2 yards the wrong way. Pre-snap penalties, false starts, illegal procedures were going on. Just what the Vikings went through for a little bit during the regular season. All that was going on. So yeah, this has surprised me. I think the one thing that we expected Ben to eventually develop. Kind of an offense that was going to be able to attack both ways on the ground and the air. We didn't see how strong the run game was going to be. The Bears have the second best running game in the NFL, and it's not because Caleb Williams is running wild. This ain't Justin Fields, He's trying to make him more of a pocket quarterback because you have to win from the pocket if you're a quarterback in the NFL. Eventually, you have to. I think the work with the offensive line has been underrated. Bringing in Joe Thuney, who's won a Super Bowl with
Kansas
City Chiefs. Signing Dahlman, who may be one of the top 5 centers in the league, and trading for Jackson from the Rams. All 3 of those guys are ranked among the top 11 offensive linemen in terms of block win percentage. So that has reshaped their line. It has fueled their running game. Kyle Monangai, the 7th round pick out of Rutgers, has been useful. And when you're able to run the ball, it takes a lot of pressure off of Caleb Williams to make plays with his arm. So, which is weird because I thought the Vikings would be similar to that. When you sign Mason, you have Aaron Jones.
This is not.
We're not talking about our team right now.
But stop it.
I'm saying
I'm not here to catch a stray at Shields.
For the Vikings to turn this around, I think it starts.
We don't care what your opinion is.
You're a columnist.
Okay, that's why you get paid to be a columnist, to write about things like this, not talk about them. Somebody please ask Ben a question right now.
That was not a stray thrown at the Vikings.
Somebody get this man a sponsor.
Amy Shields.
Well, I want to continue down the Bears road, but to the beat writer, I want to ask the beat writer for the Minnesota
Vikings. You can go down the Bears road.
Okay, well,
you got a big one this weekend.
Well, do you think this is sustainable? I mean, the question I have is earlier in the season, it was a team that was beating on bad teams, doing the thing you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And that record. Now you go to Philly on Black Friday, you do what you did, and that kind of raises some eyebrows.
Yeah, it was eye-opening.
And I guess I'm going to give my own team, my favorite team, a stray here.
Well, they broke the Eagles' spirit with that running game.
They did, but your team kind of feels like the 2022 Minnesota Vikings. There's an element to it where you have brought the turnovers down, you're getting takeaways, opportunistic defense, and the offense, any coin flip of a moment, your team is on the right side of that. And that was similar to my favorite team a few years ago. But then the freaking rug gets pulled out from under my favorite team, sadly. That's what your team feels to me right now. I'm just curious what your level of faith or belief is in sustaining this at this particular moment atop the NFC.
For the rest of the season, I think it's going to be tough. The victory over the Eagles was a defining win. The defining win I was looking for.
It was a strong win, yeah.
Because I was skeptical too, just because of strength of schedule.
2022 Bills Vikings-esque.
Yeah,
maybe?
and how some of these games were being won, in the final seconds. I mean, that Cincinnati game was just ridiculous. So now it's open eyes across the league. And in my mind, if the Bears get to 11 wins, which means they just need 2 more wins out of these last 5 games, I think that's maybe enough to win the division. Because you look at Green Bay's schedule and Detroit's schedule, it's not a walk in the park. In fact, I believe.
Well, one of those should be against the Pack, though, right? If you're thinking that way, and you just need to do more, you got to go to Lambeau and get a W this week.
This Sunday in Lambeau.
Good luck.
Where the Bears won there last year, so we're not going to be afraid.
Used to be's don't count anymore. They just lie on the floor till we sweep them away.
And 2. Ben Johnson, in his introductory press conference, says, I enjoy beating Matt LaFleur twice a year.
Oh, geez.
He's 5-1 against LaFleur.
Oh, geez.
Okay.
So,
with Jahmyr Gibbs. No, I'm sorry. I didn't say that. No, it doesn't matter. They're 9-3 with Monangai. Are you kidding me?
DeAndre Swift, too.
So then we have Cleveland after that, then Detroit again.
Yeah.
Then 49ers and Lions. Give me 2 more wins. Give me to 11. I think it's going to win.
He's just trying to give me two
It's
more wins.
unbelievable.
I'm just trying to have the Vikings score a touchdown for the first time in 8 quarters.
Just give me 7 points. I just want to see Reichert out
It's
there.
going to happen.
Lining up for an extra point. I just need that. I need that against the Commanders.
I know, but this is not about us in the therapeutic Davenport of love.
Getting emotional.
This is about thanking the columnist for stopping by and opening his heart and sharing. And also, it's an open invitation. Why? Because it's public. Cindy wants to come in studio.
Yeah.
Thursday at 11:15 after, what's the girl's name? Olivia what?
Olivia King.
Olivia King. So 11:15 till, 11:45 or
On
so.
Thursday?
Thursday around 11:15. Cindy the Sultan of Smug wants to stop by. And his team is hosting.
Don't be a coward.
They're chasing your team.
Yep.
And Nordo and I will probably craft a little game or a trivia thing or something like that. But
absolutely,
we're just going to sit back and just sit back and enjoy you guys going at each other. Wouldn't you guys love to hear that if only for one segment? It doesn't involve us, but a couple of learned football fans, well, at least Lavelle's learned, going at each other. 11:15-ish on Thursday. You want to stop by?
I will knock that smug off his face.
Yes!
And if Carl Gershman is around, he's getting punched in the nose.
Oh, yes.
The two guys that beat me in initials, too.
And for me,
Or not
Nordo,
initials,
during the
password.
4 and 8, 2 segments handled.
Please.
Thank you, Father.
209.
Lavelle, God bless you, man. Thanks for coming out. We appreciate you. Columnist Velle Neal III. Follow him on Twitter, please. Read all of his stories at Star Tribune and StarTribune.com. Ben stays for a segment, and we'll get a little more hardcore with the Vikings from Shields. Toys for Tots Day, FM 100.3 KFAN. Goessling Star Tribune covers the Minnesota Vikings for said scribe. And also you can learn more about him via Twitter at Ben Goessling. Access Vikings, the podcast. We got a newsletter in the mix. He was in Seattle. And it's always great seeing Ben. Listen to him on the Vikings pregame show, too. Vikings Football Sunday with Musk. Generally, what is that, about 20 minutes before the game?
About 25 before the game.
Yeah.
Generally the idea.
That's Vikings Football Sunday, KFAN, and KFAN Audio Network. All right, let's go a little bit in the weeds on the hardcore side. Why is Justin Jefferson not speaking after a game a big deal?
Well, I think in 6 years of covering him, I was trying to remember if that's ever happened before. And I can't remember a time where it has. I think it's notable because he's one of the captains of the team, and he's a guy that I think takes that role pretty seriously. We've heard him talk over the last couple of years a number of times about how important he sees that as being and kind of the face of the franchise. He's referred to himself about in that role quite a bit. So for him to say, I don't have anything to say, it happens. You see players do it when they're frustrated at times, but it was a window into what he's thinking as much as anything else. I mean, I'm not going to be the guy that sits here and says, oh, they have to do it every single time they're supposed to do it. Like sometimes guys have bad days. Sometimes guys think if I say something, it's probably going to be worse than if I don't. So the old, if I don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. But I think it was a window into how he's feeling. And we all saw the body language on the sideline in the second half of that game. So I think it's notable. I think it's telling based on the fact that he's not done that at all, as far as I can remember. And just the role that he plays as a team spokesman, for him to say, no, I'm not doing that today, I think is worth paying attention to.
Isn't, in some ways, not saying anything, saying everything?
Yes.
And I mean, you're not going to be a person that puts words into his brain or through his mouth when you cover the team. But there is an element of Justin Jefferson's probably feeling a lot like what we're feeling even on the outside right now. Where this team has tried everything. It's not working. And he is accustomed to some semblance of success.
Yeah.
Win or lose, statistically, getting into the end zone, we're sitting up here 9 to noon begging this team just to score a touchdown.
Yeah.
Nobody wants him more than him. Kind of saying nothing in some ways says a lot.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think there's a little bit of when you stay silent, you allow people to say, you allow people like me to say, that's not something we've seen from him before. He doesn't have to say anything for people to say, okay,
this is different than it has been, and I certainly think there's frustration there. Obviously, he has still won more playoff games in college than he has in the NFL, and that was 2 seasons of playoffs at LSU, and he's been to the playoffs, I think, probably twice in his time with the Vikings. But yeah, that it's obviously a lot longer time. So I think the fact that they are not having the success he'd hoped to have, both individually for him and as a team, is starting to wear on him a little bit.
Ben Goessling, Star Tribune, StarTribune.com. When things are really bad, for some kind of bad, but when things are perceived to be really bad, fans always want people replaced. That's mostly overreaction, but not always, right?
Right. Yeah, you've seen times where people get replaced because an ownership group has said, hey, this has been enough. I don't think that's the point we're at here. The coach and the general manager were both extended before this season, and Kevin O'Connell's extension is, I think, through 2029. So there's a lot of commitment made to Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, especially in the middle of this quarterback process where you're probably going to say we need some stability here, but this has been bad. And I think there's a lot of fans that start to wonder about it at this point. With the contracts and the fact that they have made those commitments, and there's a cost to that, obviously, that goes into the equation, but they're going to have to, I think, answer for some things just as how this has gone. I think they'll be here, but just in the accounting of it, when they're meeting with the ownership group and saying what happened here, there are going to have to be some hard conversations, because this certainly has not gone anywhere near what they wanted it to be.
I imagine you do a lot of stiff arming with those sorts of topics, or have to in some regard. Again, still meeting with the team every day. We're in the midst, 5 games remaining. I've joked about it with you before. In October, team loses a bad game, you're talking about the general manager, you're talking about drafts, you're talking about free agency and those things. And I would say this is freaking October. We're going to have plenty of time to dissect and go backwards. But that heat now, with 5 games left and playoffs not really being a factor of the conversation, that has exploded, where you're trying to balance, here's what I want to see out of my squad against the Commanders, and please, can the left tackle play? So number 9 can have the best opportunity to find some success on the field. Meanwhile, what about this guy that came in March? Did you see what we drafted in 2022? Trying to stay in the now can be difficult.
Yeah, it can. This is an ownership group, I think it's worth pointing out, that is not typically very reactionary. They pride themselves on being stable. They pride themselves on being
they've shown a lot of loyalty
thinkers.
to their decisions.
They have. They certainly, I think, want to operate that way. You've heard them talk about seeing the Rooney family as a model for what they want in terms of family ownership, but also the stability of, we're not going to react to one season of things going off the rails, or a couple of months of things going off the rails. That said, this is a team that I think has the highest cash spend in the NFL. So there are a lot of investments made that have not panned out. And I think that's where it becomes difficult to kind of parse all of this, because I do think there's going to be hard discussions of, hey, we thought we were building a team that would contend, even as we have a quarterback that's developing in the process. That was always going to be a tough thing to do, but when it hasn't worked, and it's to the point where you're not even talking about playoffs, you're talking about drafts and where things go from here, there's a lot of questions that have to be answered, and specifically with the drafts. They have an expensive roster, in part because the drafts have not delivered the results in the
fruit,
cheaper labor, which, let's be honest, that's part of what it is. That hasn't happened, so you end up in spots where you pay Adam Thielen, and you have veterans that are getting a little older and a little more expensive, and you have to work through all of that when the drafts have not delivered.
Lastly, with the Minnesota Vikings offense, do you sense with that side of the football that at times they almost expect bad things to happen? In other words, playing tight, or it's hard to frame up, because they've had so much offensive success here that it's kind of like when is something bad going to happen?
Well, yeah. I think it was interesting to hear Kevin O'Connell talk yesterday about having to separate what you hope the offense would look like, or what you believe it can look like, from what you're actually at right now.
Because that's what triggered the question.
Yeah. I think, and it'll be interesting to hear what he says to that. If you guys get into it a little bit later today and as we go through the week, because
this is an offense that we've seen work at a very high level, but it's an offense that's worked well when it's had quarterbacks that have had time in the league and time in the offense. So when you have a quarterback that can make all of the cans and checks at the line, when you have a quarterback that trusts themselves, he talked about it yesterday, the in-cut screaming through the backside. I mean, Sam Darnold lived on those last year. The dagger throw to Justin Jefferson on the backside of a play, they made so much money off of that last year, and that is something they want to get to often in this offense, where you have a receiver running vertically to clear the safety, and then Justin Jefferson breaks behind that to get 18 yards over the middle of the field. We have not seen that happen. So when those staples of the offense aren't there, and you're kind of saying, okay, let's go to screens, let's go to quick game, let's try to find ways to just minimize the mistakes, it's that playing not to lose thing, which certainly Kevin O'Connell does not want to be doing. He wants to push the ball. He wants to be aggressive. He wants to play to win. And I think when you're having to operate this way, it can lead you to a little bit of this protectionist mindset that's very unusual to see from a Kevin O'Connell coach team.
You're fantastic. Thanks for coming out.
Yeah, always fun to be out here. Thanks, everybody.
Goessling, ladies and gentlemen. Follow his work at Star Tribune and StarTribune.com. That's courtesy of Standard Heating and Air and StandardHeating.com. Now, about 15 minutes from now, Kevin O'Connell, head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, will join us as he is wont to do weekly around 11 o'clock. He'll be at Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center in Eagan, and we'll be here at Shields in Eden Prairie. He'll be able to see us, though. And we have secured a couple of tots. We have secured a couple of kids to ask Kevin, ask the head coach some questions here on the stage. You'll see that at Vikings.com and here at 9 to noon, coming up about 11:05. With Nordo, I'm Paul Allen. Back after this.
Back 9 to noon here at Shields, part of our Toys for Tots push each and every single season. And thank you all for hanging out with us at Shields today. Thank you to Shields for being tremendous hosts. And, of course, whether it's the Marine Corps and their support of Toys for Tots, and all throughout the day today, whether it's Vikings players, during the first hour we had TJ Hawkinson, I believe Isaiah Rogers, there's going to be a Josh Metellus sighting, whether it's the program, noon to 3, and bumper to bumper with Dan Barrero, 3 to 6:30. We're going to be here all day today. And just drop on by, say hello, and drop off an unwrapped toy. And that's, of course, going to be for the Tots. First 50 donations each show today, whether it's Common at noon and Barrero at 3, you're going to receive a KFAN and Unreal beanie. So thanks so much for Shields, the Vikings, Unreal for supporting our efforts today. And it is time for News to Nord, truncated edition as we pat our way to the head coach, Kevin O'Connell, each and every week. X's and O's with head coach Kevin O'Connell. He's going to be joining us at the top of the hour. He'll be at TCO in Eagan, and we'll be here at Shields, but excited for that conversation regarding your favorite football team, and it's super cool. We got a couple of tots with a couple of questions for the head coach to kick that off. Non-Vikings for a moment. The Minnesota Timberwolves, 10.5-point favorites at the New Orleans Pelicans this evening. Anthony Edwards, I've mentioned it when I talk about prize picks. 5 straight games. I believe the longest streak of his career with 30-plus points. Let's just say he's on a heater, and he's kind of had to be wonky squad, trying to figure out the point guard position. But they're finding their way to victories, finally beating teams with a winning record as they did over the weekend versus the Spurs and the Celtics. Let's just say this, the Pelicans are hideous. The Pelicans are awful. The Pelicans are the dredge of the NBA. And to go down to New Orleans and do nothing other than just absolutely pummel an awful state of affairs that the Pelicans currently are, that should be the A topic for Finchie's squad tonight. And that's 7 o'clock. You're going to get to hear that via the, of course, where you're home for Wolves Hoops, the free iHeartRadio app.
The answer to the question that you texted me last evening, and I didn't see it till this morning, is Anthony Edwards. In my opinion, the answer is, he's 250 to 1 to become the MVP.
Yeah.
So you got like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Jokic, who are prohibitively favored to win it.
Yeah, it's like 1.5 to 1 for each of them. They're very close.
It's certainly with Shai. the team is heavily favored to win the championship. And so the teams that the bet shops believe will garner the most attention and win the most games.
Yeah.
So who's the best player on that team? Who is the one all of the people who vote for absolutely know of? Now, of course, they know of Ant, but really until he does things that those two have done, then they're just like, here, kitty, you got $20. You want to put it on him at 25, 250 to 1, whatever it is. Go ahead and do it. He's not going to win.
It totally makes sense. We've had this MVP conversation similarly in the NFL before. Just 250 was very jarring to me. Now, NBA awards are so top heavy.
I believe it when I saw
and maybe pragmatically, if you were just going to say who's the MVP of the NBA, well, people would get bored because Joker would be the MVP probably the last 4, 5, 6 seasons. If you were truly looking at it from an actual most valuable standpoint, Shea's probably the right answer in this equation with what he did last year. I get it. But I'm just thinking Ant at 250 to 1, especially if he continues to carry this thing on his back like he has the last week and a half.
Yep.
And this is a team vying maybe for their third consecutive Western Conference Final Series. I'm just thinking, man, number 5 needs a little bit of love. You know, and maybe not, this isn't a take for a tot, but maybe if I was a tot, I'd tell my dad, like, maybe throw 5 on Ant at 250 to 1 and see what happens.
We have a minute left before we pause for O'Connell. Just to land the plane here, I like this maybe for tomorrow or moving forward, where if you look at each team, that say has a winning record, and you take that MVP guy from it, what do you think would happen? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that'd be fun to look around, actually.
But then you get to, like, the Rockets. Okay, Kevin Durant. Is Kevin Durant more important than Amen Thompson? Is Amen Thompson more important than whomever else you want to go to the MVP on that team? I like that. What's next?
Well, lastly, as we are indeed about to pause, the Wild. And as well as they've been doing, sadly, they lose that shootout against the Sabres after that incredibly emotional W at home on Friday against the Avs. They're out at Connor McDavid and the Edmonton Oilers, and it will be Jesper Wallstedt in net for the Minnesota Wild tonight. That's at 8 p.m. on your home for Wild Hockey, The Fan. Looking for them to continue their winning ways as they create a nice little gap. 6 points clear. I believe the Blackhawks are the next team in the division. They're 4 points clear of where the wild card teams are at. So this, it's tough to build that kind of momentum with the 3-point game and how everything works out scoring-wise in the NHL.
Yeah.
Impressive turnaround from some ugly and meager beginnings to this season. Looking forward to Heinze's team getting another 2 out west tonight.
Well, this time last week, or actually like Thursday or Friday last week, when we were laying out, hey, they have 28 points. 28 points puts you X amount behind the Avs in the best division in hockey.
Yeah.
But if you're in something called the Metropolitan, you'd be leading it. If you're in the Atlantic, you'd be in a tie for first. It kind of a perspective as they go around the league.
Central strong right now.
Well, it's just crazy how things change in a short amount of time, where the Wild have 33 points. Okay, so they beat Colorado. They're still 9 behind Colorado, still 5 behind Dallas. Like Nordo said, the Central is crazy. But you go to the Pacific, and we'd be tied for first with Anaheim. First and foremost, how in the heck is Anaheim in first?
What's up with the Ducks?
And secondly, Edmonton with Connor McDavid, Draisaitl, Evan Bouchard, and some of those other high-enders. Well, they're in the spot we were in last week.
Yep.
They have 27 points. So that's very intriguing, and we'll see how it works out tonight.
News to Nord brought to you by Canterbury.
Canterbury Park, CanterburyPark.com. We sell Christmas trees at Canterbury, by the way. If you would like to stop by, they're outside on the west side of the parking lot, and you've talked about it before.
It's sweet.
What goes into this?
Well, it's just Canterbury offers everything. Whether you're feeling the felt, or you're doing the NFL Pro Pick'em Challenge, or you're getting Christmas trees. If you don't want to be like me, climbing up a freaking hill because your kids picked the Christmas tree a half mile away from the Jeep, and you got the little orange saw that's down to a dull, you go to Canterbury Park. You find Johnny the Mouse Mickelson or some of the great staff that are actually out there selling trees. Buy yourself a tree, pull up the truckster, they'll strap it on top, and you're headed your way to a beautiful Christmas tree centerpiece in your house.
Cover your ears, okay?
All right.
This right here is a great husband and an even better father. Round of applause for the producer of 9 to Noon, Eric Nord. I told you to cover your ears. Speaking of great husbands, elite coaches, and fantastic fathers, Kevin O'Connell, head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, joins us next on 9 to Noon.